Now that you have set up the server, you must set up the clients to work with NAP. Here we will use the Windows 7 workstation. This brings us to step 10. Configure your client to be in compliance with NAP. Now we're on a Windows 7 workstation, and notice that because NAP is set up, if you look over here, I'm trying to lease an IP. If I were to, let me go and just show you here. I'll go to Control Panel,
and let's go to Windows Firewall. And I'll just go to turn Windows Firewall on or off. And
so notice I have turn off Windows Firewall, turn off Windows Firewall. So to be in compliance, to get an IP and to be able to join the domain and so forth, I need to turn the Windows Firewall on. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to click on OK. And that will meet that condition. Now notice also, I'm going to go ahead and
go out of here, and I'm going to go and I'm going to go to Network and Sharing Center, and click on Network and Sharing Center here. And
remember that the type of network you're connected to. In this case, it's a unidentified public network. And I'm going to go to Change Advanced Sharing Settings. Shh, bad kitty. And you can choose the type of profile, whether it's considered a home network or whether it's considered. But I'm going to turn on network discovery. Just make things easy here. Turn on sharing, yada yada yada. All of these options down here, and notice I still haven't got, I'm not in. Okay, I'm at this point with the firewall and everything set up. I'm meeting the NAP requirements, but I haven't yet configured my client to utilize the NAP service. So that's the next thing that I need to do. 11. Enable the NAP client service so that it runs each time the client starts. I right click and select Manage right here, and I want to go to Services. And if you need to, I like to use the shortcut there off of my computer, but if you need to, you can just do, Start Command, open up a Microsoft Management Console or Mickey Mouse Console, type in MMC, and add the services snap in if that's what you prefer. But so I'm going to go into Services. I'm just going to highlight it over here. And again, my VM's kind of running pretty slow here, but I'll go as quick as I can. And I want to go to Network Access Protection Agent, and I need to enable this and get it running. So Network Access Protection Agent, and I'm going to double click it. And notice it's manual. I'm going to make it automatic in this case, in this example. And I'm going to go ahead and start it. So I'll start the Network Access Protection Agent. And this way it'll start automatically every time I boot, and I'll want that. Now that's part of it, part of the client configuration. I'm going to close that, and I'm going to close this. For step 12, let's run the NAP client configuration tool. Use napclcfg.msc from the command prompt. Now there is another part of the client configuration. And there's a tool we're going to launch called NAP CLCFG. Alright, and that's, again, so NAP client, basically short for NAP client configuration tool, or CFG. And it's managed, it's a snap in to a management console, so it would be .msc, but you actually just do like NAP CLCFG for the configuration client, whichever. But we need to open this. Alright, so the service is running now, but now we're going to run the configuration, or the client configuration tool. Okay, and let's do create and manage enforcement clients. And I'm going to, so create and manage enforcement clients, I'm going to click on enforcement clients right here. And you could also open up this node over here if you had enforcement clients, whichever you prefer there. But and under enforcement clients, and I'm going to double click DHCP quarantine enforcement client, and I want to enable this. I'm going to go ahead and click enable this enforcement client, and I'm going to click on OK, and I'm going to go to user interface settings here, and let's see. Under user interface settings, I want to open, let me just open the properties here. So if I double click, I'm going to open the properties here. And I'm just going to call this
Battlestars Colonial Fleet. There. And then under the description, and that was for the really dorky original Battlestar Galactica. If you're a hardcore BSG fan, they call it a ragtag fugitive.
And I could associate an image with it, but I'm not. So I'm just going to click on OK there and save that. Alright, so we have a description. We just named it. We enabled the NAP service on the client, right? We used the NAP service configuration tool. And in this case, we're all set.
Now I'm going to go to trusted server groups. Let's see. Let me open this here.
And I needed to maximize that so it would show. But I clicked backwards, and it's a link. You have to go up here and select this one, and then go down here to trusted server group. See the little hyperlink looking thing there, whatever. So you want to click that under trusted server groups, and let's look in the left pane under health registration settings. And under my trusted server groups for health registration settings, or you could select these nodes over here. And I'm gonna go down and select request policy. And let's see. Just looking at some of the different features. 13. Now we'll test for secure clients that meet the NAP policy requirements. In this case, it means that they do have their firewall enabled. And now with this, with the NAP policies being implemented here, and we're on Aphrodite here, but hence the color configuration, eh? And pipe that to more. Alright, so DHCP enabled is yes, but at this point here's our IP, and let's do a release. Alright, and notice in this case no IPs going on there. And let's do a renew now. I'm going to lease an IP. Alright, so we were able to lease an IP version 4, 32-bit address, 192.168.1.11. 14. Now that your client meets NAP requirements and has leased an IP address from the DHCP server, join it to your Active Directory domain. Now let's go ahead and join our computer to the domain. And I'm going to go here and Properties, Advanced, Computer Name, and in this case the DNS server would be the loopback there. So I got my IP from the domain controller and the loopback. I'm going to go ahead and change, and now that I meet the NAP requirements, I can join the domain. So from workgroup to, and I only need the leftmost part of the fully qualified domain name FQDN, because I only have one forest, one tree at this point, and no subdomains. So we're good. Good. And I need the enterprise admin credentials, or at least domain admin. So administrator and the funky password. Complex yet simple password.
There's Kitty meowing. Don't you scratch that couch. Bad kitty. Kitty's gonna get spanked. Bad, bad kitty. No kitty, no. Kitty's angry. Kitty wants to go out and kill some squirrels.
And welcome to the Battlestars domain. Woohoo! So I have NAP configured, and NAP is running, and I'm getting IPs when I meet my NAP policy. So this tests secure Battlestars, right? This is a client now that meets my NAP policy requirements. I'm going to reboot and I'll be part of the domain. Next, we will test a client that does not meet. We'll disable the firewall and see what happens when we don't meet the NAP requirements. Step 15. Now we will test NAP for non-secure clients. Remember that in this first example, when we turn the firewall off, that we can still lease an IP address from the DHCP server, but we have restricted access. So now I've rebooted and logged back into the local machine, and again I'm going to open a command prompt and show you. Now I meet my NAP policy. So NAP is configured on the client side. Showed you all those processes. NAP is configured on the server side. The NAP server, all the things involved there. So again, let me pipe that out to more so it'll kind of pause and we can watch it and look at it and see it and all that good stuff. Alright, so look, is DHCP enabled? Why, yes it is. Did I lease an address from the server? Yes I did. 192.168.1.11 preferred. There's my subnet mask and my DNS settings, in this case 192.168.1.1, that's coming through gateway settings, default gateway 192.168.1.1. all of that is as it should be. Okay, now let's hop on over to the server and again we'll see what it looks like on the server. To the server, Robin. So on the server, if we go over and open up the DHCP console, remember our little shortcut there, and on Battlestars, pull this down, and here's our scope of addresses. And let's look at our address pool 11 to 254, and let's look at any active leases we have. And notice in this case on the DHCP, here's our active lease. So on the Galactica domain controller server, there's Aphrodite Battlestars.com, and she's got 192.168.1.11. All right, and that's her DHCP lease. So let's hop back to the client now. NAP's in place, and right now she meets our NAP requirements, so she gets an IP. What happens if she doesn't meet our NAP requirements? Back to the client, Robin. So we're on the Windows 7 client now, Aphrodite. And again, if I list, let me clear the screen on my command prompt here. And if we look at on Aphrodite, notice that she is DHCP enabled. She's leased the IP 192.168.1.11, just like the scope showed us on the server, Galactica. She has all the settings, the default gateway, DNS servers all set up, and the domain and everything. There's her host name up here, Aphrodite, Battlestars.com, all of that good stuff, right? So she has currently her firewall enabled. So I'm going to open up Control Panel, and I'll just leave it open in the background, like minimize it. But if we look at the Windows firewall settings, notice that the firewall is enabled, right? If I go to turn Windows firewall on and off, notice that the firewall is turned on. So right now she meets the health requirements. So if she were to release and renew, she'd be able to. So I'm going to go ahead and ipconfig release. Okay, and if I do that, I've released. Notice now I've got a PEPA, automatic private IP addressing, which is good for like nothing. But it's, I don't have an address over DHCP, but I laid it down with release, and I can take it up again with renew, ipconfig renew. I can lease an IP back because currently I do meet the NAP health requirements. I have what's considered a valid health certificate. See, there's my IP. I just leased it. So now let's turn the firewall off. So we'll cause ourselves to be, to fail the NAP health certificate requirements. So I'm going to turn off Windows Firewall, turn off Windows Firewall, turn off Windows Firewall. Okay, we'll just shut it down, shut it off. And now that we have done so, now let's try. So again, I'm going to release my IP. Alright, so I released the IP, and now let's do ipconfig all, pipe it through more, and see what we've got. Alright, so the IP address has been released. Still DHCP, still the same host name, but we are no longer, we don't have that IP. So now that we've released it, what if we try to, to pick it up? Let's try to renew it. Oh, already had that. So I'll try to renew, and now I'm in a situation where I no longer meet the NAP security requirements. Notice in this example that I was still able to lease an IP address, but was given restricted network access. Also notice that NAP Remediation Services is able to hail my Windows 7 client and automatically turn my disabled firewall back on. Cool! And notice when I did that, it turned my firewall settings back on, but let me shut these off once again. We have finally arrived at stage Suite 16 of our NAP endeavors. Now we have to temporarily leave our Windows 7 client and hop back onto our 2008 server to modify our NAP policy for example 2. Remember example 2? This involves configuring non-secure clients that do not meet MPS requirements so that they cannot obtain an IP address at all or access the network via DHCP. Let me log into the Galactica here, and I'm going to open up my network policy server. And this time we're going to change, let's look at our non-secure policy here. Alright, in this case, if we fail the SHV check, what's going to happen? There's the health policy. Let's look at our network policy for a non-secure client. What are we saying we're going to do here? And grant access if the connection request matches this policy. This time we're going to deny access. And this will actually, we'll kick them off. We don't want to give them a DHCP address here. So we'll deny access. We're allowing, now we're denying. And let's hop on over to the client. Back to the client, Robin. So on the client, we have an IP. Let's release it. We'll release it now. And our firewall service is still disabled. Okay. Alright, so we're at PIPA now, once again, automatic private IP addressing. And we've released it. Now let's try renewing. And again, verify that our firewall service has been shut off. If I open Control Panel, and I go to Windows Firewall, and I go here to turn Windows Firewall on or off, notice that I don't have that option because I disabled, pretending we got spyware or malware, we disabled the firewall service. So last time we had the NAP server configured to, it would give us an IP, but it put us on limited access. But now we have it set up to deny access. And in this case, notice that I cannot lease, I'm not allowed to even lease an IP from the DHCP server because I don't meet the health certificate requirements. I'm not considered to be a healthy client because hypothetically, or in a simulated way, spyware or malware has disabled or broken my firewall. It's not very safe. And it's just toiling, but eventually it would time out if I let it sit there long enough. It's not going to lease an IP since it doesn't meet those requirements. I'm going to do Control C, so we don't have to wait. And now I'm going to go and right click and manage it. This time I'm going to turn my firewall back on. I'm going to re-enable the service, start it back up. So that we will once again meet our NAP requirements. Go down and Windows Firewall. And let's make it automatic once again. And let's start it up. When I do this, notice that now when I go to Control Panel, I have the options to turn it off or on. I'm going to turn it on. So now, whereas before I was not in compliance and I set it to deny access, now I am in compliance and I would be considered healthy. And so I should be allowed to renew an IP. And zoom, right away, I got an IP. So just a kind of a simple demonstration of some different ways of configuring network access protection and network and health policies and certificates on the server and client side.